Hi, and welcome to episode 45 of the Give Me a Crown Knitting, Spinning and Bits and Pieces podcast. Today is Monday the 15th of August 2016, and my name's Nina, also known as Give Me a Crown on Ravelry, Instagram, Pinterest, and it's also the name of my Etsy shop. I'm coming to you from a little village in the central west of New South Wales in Australia, and I forgot to bring my party hat, but this is the 1-year podcast anniversary show. So I'll chat a bit more about that later on, but thank you to all of you who have joined me on this journey, and a big hello to any new viewers out there. This week I will have some finished objects, some works in progress, and then some fun things at the end. So on with the show. I have a finished object, which is my Corridale beanie. So this is knit from some hand spun that I've shown in some recent episodes, and last week I had knit part of the crown and I wasn't convinced with the patterning that I was getting. I was just trying to make up some stitch patterns, and I ended up ripping back and adjusting, sort of doing a different kind of pattern, and it's a bit visible. Now this hasn't actually been washed yet, I only finished it last night, so the crown is a little bit squishy up there, but once I give it a wash I will put a bowl on the inside and then that will flatten out the top. But you'll see that there's some diagonals and things going on in there. They're a little bit hard to tell, but that's one of the problems that I had with this, was that being such a dark coloured yarn, and it's also because my spinning was a bit more of the worsted style rather than the woolen, I think that has sort of impacted how visible the stitch pattern is. But I think it's visible enough for me, and I think what I'll do is I will make a second version using a different kind of yarn. So I think it goes okay. It's a little bit on the slouchy side, but I wonder if you can see the... How's my lighting? There's definitely something going on there, but it's a little bit glary in here today because the sun is shining, so it might be a bit hard to tell, but I'll take some proper photos of this after I've given it a wash. So this beanie has my first ever turned hem. I think overall, I'm not sure if I've done a turned hem anywhere, but definitely not in a beanie, and I wanted to give it a go because one thing I've noticed with my beanies is over this past winter has been that my ears get a bit cold, so I wanted to have something that was a little bit warmer for my ears, and I ended up doing a 12 rows of rib. Then I did a purl row which creates a turning part, then 12 more rows, and I did a 3 needle bind off, and it's created a bit of a ridge there, so I can't feel it when I'm wearing it. I've only worn it a little bit since I cast off last night, but there's a bit of a ridge, and I think one of the other ways to do it would be to have sewn it down. So on my second version that I knit of this pattern, I think I'll do a sewn down version just to see how that looks in comparison. So just before I started this ribbing, I did 1 row of stockinette with the smaller needle, so I went from a 5mm needle up the top to a 4.5mm needle for the ribbing. I did 1 row of stockinette and I put a lifeline in there, so that once I folded over this hem, I was able to pick up all the stitches that the lifeline was going through in order to then do the 3 needle bind off. So I was kind of experimenting and making it up as I went along. I sort of looked a little bit about how to do a 3 needle bind off on sort of the bottom hem rather than the cast on hem, if that makes sense. And most tutorials that I bumped into seem to say do a sewn on, or sew on, so bind off using sewing, something like that. But I wanted to try it out with the 3 needle bind off. So it wasn't quick, It took a fair bit of fiddling, but I'm happy with how it turned out, and I'm happy with the fact that I have a thicker brim for the hat. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's much more to say about that, but it was a fun experiment. Fun to see what I could do with different stitch patterns. I'm just trying to show you the patterning, but I'm not sure if it's going to come up. And unfortunately the weather is now getting warmer, so it's definitely feeling rather spring-like, and I haven't had to wear a hat when I've gone to the post office for the past week or so. So I'm hoping for a little bit more cold weather. The evenings are still a bit cold, so I will hopefully get somewhere out of it before we get into proper spring. So that's that one. I've also been doing just the tiniest amount of spinning. So I had some alpaca on my spinning wheel, and this was from Adagio Mills, and as you can see, it's a tiny piece. I'm not sure how many meters are in here or how many yards, probably less than 10. And I was trying to do a short backward draw, and it was just me experimenting with technique, but I love this fibre so much that I really don't want to put it to waste. So I sort of left it where it was and then did a chain ply, I think. It's been a crazy week, so I've already forgotten what I did. Yep, I'm pretty sure that was a chain ply. And then I tried a long draw with a fondant fibre roll lag that I had, and I split the roll lag into two and then did the long draw on the singles and then plied them together. So it turned out okay. I'm still not very good at the long draw. It sort of turns out thick and thin, as you can see there. But I just wanted to get a little bit of practice, and my patience for these sort of practicing, it's not really, I don't have a lot of patience for it, but that could just be other things going on. I'm not sort of settling into the spinning. So I think I need to keep practicing, but I think I need to be in the right frame of mind when I do that. I also had just a little bit of single left over, so I just doubled it up on itself and it sort of plied into itself. So it's not a great amount of spinning, is it? But I think what I might do is, I really like the short forward draft, which I've done most of my other spinning with, so I think I'm going to break into the fibre that's up there, and I'm just going to spin it the way that I'm comfortable spinning, and then leave my technique practice until another time. I also have some works in progress. So I've been adding some squares to my sock yarn blanket, and I was on a bit of a roll, and then I had an accident. So I hopped onto the couch or onto the armchair and put my hand on the armrest and heard a snap, and I managed to snap the circular needle that I'd been using for this. So then my knitting kind of took a pause. It's the first time I've ever broken a needle, and it was very sad because I really like that needle. So I've placed an order for a new one, and I couldn't find anywhere in Australia that had the size that I wanted, so I had to order it from the UK. So I might need to just use some other needles until it arrives, but hopefully it'll be here in about a week and a half or so. So I've been doing some, before the needle incident, I knit this square with a mini that was sent to me, and this is a really interesting yarn. So this one is from Misty Alpaca, and it's a blend of 50% alpaca, 30% merino, 10% nylon, 10% silk. And as I was knitting it, I was just mesmerized that it has that alpaca feel to it, but it's even more luxurious and special. And just imagining socks made out of this kind of yarn, it's gone onto my sort of to buy list at some point. But I really like that misty alpaca, and I like the colours in there as well. They're very fun. I also knit that square, and I'm not sure what yarn this is. It was another mini that had been sent to me, and then I knit the square. So this is a Stray Cat Socks yarn. Stray Cat Socks is a New Zealand based yarn company, and just for anyone who doesn't know, that sort of blue line that's visible there when the colours are changing, it's not an issue with the yarn. The yarn changes very perfectly along from one colour to the next. That's just because I'm knitting in garter. So if this was actually a stockinette swatch, then you wouldn't see that line appearing. So I'm really impressed with how the colour changes in the Stray Cat Socks yarns, and they're still on my list of yarns to buy. So a broken needle. I don't know what to do with a broken needle. At first it just broke sort of a bit, but then when I picked it up a few times and stared at it, it completely fell apart. So my idea of perhaps trying to super glue it sort of went out the window, but I don't know what to do with the rest of it. So if anyone has any ideas about what to do with broken needles, I'd love to know. My next and final work in progress is my vanilla chow socks. So I've shown these a few times over the last few weeks, so I won't go into too much detail, but this is a Christmas knit, so it doesn't have to go too far. So this is the second sock. I finished up all of the leg knitting, and I'm about to start on the heel. So I think it's turning out beautifully unmatched. So if it goes like that. So it's close, but it's not matched, whereas before it was just slightly off. That's a long story. If you check out the previous episodes, you'll know what I'm talking about. But so that's that. And I think I need to get some more projects onto the needles, because I really don't have much at the moment. I need to spend a bit of time going through Ravelry and plotting and planning, but I think getting another one of these knit up is a high priority. But I've actually been having difficulty trying to find any worsted weight yarn. So I know that I can get worsted weight yarn from overseas, but I'm trying to just keep my budget in check, because I do have a large amount of stash, and my stash just doesn't have that much worsted weight yarn in it. So I've been looking for Australian yarn dyers who might have worsted weight yarn, but there don't seem to be too many. So I think I need to knit it in a light coloured yarn. And if anyone has any recommendations for worsted weight yarn sellers, and this probably isn't the best time of year to be hunting that kind of yarn down, but I'd love to know. So apart from that, I'm sure that there needs to be a shawl on the needles pretty soon, and I'm also thinking about some tops. So hopefully soon I'll have some more crafty stuff to show you, but I'll get on to the chatter stuff. I have some 1 year podiversary things and various other chatter things to go on with, so if you're not interested, thank you for watching. But if you are, then I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who has cheered me on over the past year. It's been an incredible journey starting this podcast and getting to meet lots of amazing people, even if it's just virtually, but I've also met in person some people, and just the amount of sharing in the community has been fantastic. So I've enjoyed watching everyone's projects in the knit-alongs that we've had, and the hints and tips that people have given me. I've definitely pushed myself in my own yarn crafts, so whether it be with my knitting or my spinning, I've also started trying to dye yarn, and that's been a fun experiment. But it's been great to be able to share what I work on with you, because it allows me to reflect on my crafts and sort of challenge myself to learn new techniques and try out things. So it's been a lot of fun, and I hope that you've enjoyed what I've had to say in the past year, and I hope it continues. I do have a bit of a giveaway because I want to share my appreciation with the community. I had mentioned that I wanted to do a YouTube based giveaway at some point, but I haven't been able to figure out all the legalities around doing that, and I don't want to get my channel shut down, of course. So this giveaway will be in the Ravelry group, so you can find the Give Me a Crown Ravelry group by searching in the groups tab. So you need to be a member. I will do the drawing on August the 29th. I've got that written in my show notes, and which will be episode 47, so 2 weeks from now, and it will be open to all members of the Ravelry group, and I've got a couple of prizes. So the first prize is one of my medium project bags. So this holds 3 or 4 skeins quite easily, so lightweight pullovers and large shawls and what have you. It's a zippered bag. It has the Give Me a Crown label in there, and this is a bit of a unique bag. It's a one of a kind. It is a bit of a hiccup, so I'll put that out there, but I have been saving this up for the podcast because I personally think it's a perfectly usable bag. The hiccup is that this fabric goes one way on one side and one way on the other, but it's something that's incredibly hard to pick up. I finished the bag, I was really proud of myself, really happy, ready to list it in the shop, and as I was looking at the photos I realised that just a little small portion of it is going in the opposite direction, so it's one of a kind. Along with this I will put some minis and some other goodies, so this one will be going off to somebody, and I'll also have a second prize, which is any Ravelry pattern up to US $7, and I haven't quite looked into all the ins and outs of it, but I presume that as long as it's something that can be gifted, then I can purchase it for you. So you'll get to have a look around Ravelry and decide which pattern you want and let me know, and then I'll buy it for you. So in order to enter, you'll need to answer one question, which is, I'm wondering, on your sort of yarny list of things to do, what's something that you've yet to try out for the first time? So it could be a technique, or it could be a type of yarn, or sort of, I'm just guessing that a lot of people have got these sort of yarn goals and what have you, because we've talked about them before, but I'm always wanting to improve what I do and learn new techniques, so I'd love to know what's something on your list that you haven't gotten around to doing yet. So pop by the Ravelry group and put in your entries, and then I'll do the drawing in a couple of weeks. Apart from that, my week was a little bit chaotic and did not go to plan whatsoever, so I'm a little bit behind on making new items for the shop and various things, but I'll get back onto track this week, which will be good. Not much has been happening in the village. My herb garden and I can never remember what they're called, like kale and spinach and those things, but they've been growing, so I took a little bit of video of them and I'll pop them in at the end just to show that I have a slight green thumb. I think I've done okay considering how cold it has been out here, but hopefully with the warmer weather I will get some more things growing. I took a bit of footage of the birds at sunset the other day. I had run out of bird food for a few days, and every time I looked out the window there was this row of crimson rosellas and king parrots and other birds just staring at me, wondering where their food was. And so I finally got some new food for them, and I've been trying to make it up to them since then. So they're very happy now that they're getting more food, and I'm seeing more different types of birds. So I have to get my camera back out there soon and take a bit of footage of the variety that's out there. Speaking of birds, I have been having some magpie incidents. I've never been swooped by a magpie before, up until Friday. So if you've watched the Shara Maid podcast, you might have heard her story of getting swooped by a magpie, and it's terrifying, absolutely and utterly terrifying. I was taking the long way home from the post office on Friday, and suddenly I heard these wings flapping and realised that something was coming at my head very, very fast, and put my hands up, and yeah, suddenly this bird is flying very close to me. It swooped on me probably 3 or 4 times, and it was not fun. I didn't know what I could do apart from just try to put my hands over my head and try to protect my eyes, and thankfully it didn't make impact, but it was scary. So today I went to the post office and took the long way home, forgot that there was this magpie there that was protecting its nest, and it swooped at me again, and I swear this time it got closer, and it was making noises with its beak, and it's incredibly loud and just terrifying when something is flying at your head and you know they have a beak and claws. Now I completely understand why it was doing it, but not good, not fun. I'm gonna have to start taking the shorter way back home, so I'm gonna get a little bit less exercise, but I will keep my scalp and my eyeballs intact, which I think is probably the best thing for me. I think that's probably it. So thank you again for the fun year. Thank you to everyone who takes the time to comment on YouTube or in the Ravelry group, and for those who participate in the knit-alongs and share their experience and their knowledge. It's wonderful that there's such an amazing and supportive community out there. I hope you've been having a good week and you've been getting lots of crafting time, and that everything is going well. So I'll see you soon.